Hey smart people, Toby Salami is back again, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can make a dynamic profile completion circle or bar to indicate that a user needs to complete their profile. I ask that you please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as videos like this are what I release every week. I will be waiting to read your comments down below, so leave one below. Here's how it works. If you come to the user profile on the back end here, and let's add an email address here, me@tobysalami.com. And let's just update profile. We have 4 items here that are being looked into. Out of 4, we now have all of the 4 items filled in. If we come in the front end and refresh this, we have 100% profile completion here. Excellent. Let's come back to the profile and take that off. Let's also take off the age. Let's also take off the subscription to YouTube channel, which I expect you should have done by now. And let's just hit update profile. Once we come to front end and refresh this, we now have 25% complete. It just works. I'm super excited to show you this. I really cannot wait, so let's just dive right in. Here are the plugins I made use of. I have Elementor here, which is my page builder of choice for this particular example, but you can of course make use of Bricks Builder or Gutenberg to achieve the same thing. You're just going to have to make decisions on which widgets or add-ons you're going to make use of, but of course I'm going to use Elementor here, and whatever I'm going to demonstrate here, you can follow through with whatever page builder you make use of. I have Elementor Pro installed, and the reason for having Elementor Pro is because I have the shortcode dynamic tag inside of there, which I can make use of to output my shortcodes. If you have a way to output shortcodes inside of your dynamic tag without making use of Elementor Pro and also without coding, please, absolutely, you can go ahead and do that. You don't need Elementor Pro if you have a way around that. Next, I have Jet Elements for Elementor. The only reason for installing that is because of the add-on I need here. If you check inside Crocoblock, when you have Jet Elements installed, you see on the widget and extensions inside of here that you have the circle progress widget here, which is going to visually represent the progress bar that we need to demonstrate here in this tutorial. You also have the progress bar widget, which works similarly, except it's horizontal. And finally, in our list of plugins, we have a JetEngine plugin, which we installed here for the purpose of creating our queries using the query builder, and also creating the meta boxes that will be attached to the user profile, and through which a person can now enter whatever fields that will be attached to any user profile. So let's start from there. Let's create the meta box that will be associated with all the user profiles on the site. If you click on meta box and you come inside of here, you can click on add new. Now we're going to give the meta box a name. What we call it really doesn't matter. For now, we're just going to call it additional information attached to users. Now we're going to specify that the meta box is for users. So we're going to select user here. We're going to come down and you see visible at. We want to select edit user and profile, just so that it can be visible to both me, who is an admin, and other users on the site who actually own the user profiles. Now we want to come to Metafields and actually add the Metafields that will be associated with those user profiles. Let's start from the first one. This one, we're going to call it user contact email address. Okay. We're going to create another one, and this one will be called user age. Ideally, you want to use here a date-time metafield and then set it as timestamp so that the person can pick a particular date and then you calculate the age. But for now, let's just keep it simple and select number. And once we have that selected, we're good to go. Third, we're going to create a field that's going to ask a user a question. So, have you subscribed to this YouTube channel? Okay. And inside of here, we want to take off the question mark because it doesn't quite work well in the database. And once we have that done, we're going to create our last field, which is going to be an image field. We're just going to call it image of user. Inside of here, we're going to select the field type as media. And keep in mind, we're going to select the value format, not as any of this, but as media ID. Once we have that selected, we're going to hit add meta box. Now let's come inside the user profile and see it work. Once we're inside of here, let's scroll down to the button and we see here that we have user contact email address. We can fill some things in here. I want to put in here as me@tobysalami.com. And inside age of user, I want to select my age there. And next, have you subscribed to the YouTube channel? I want to make sure that I'm speaking the truth here, so I'm going to wait for you to answer that. Have you? Have you? Did I hear you say yes? Good. So let's type yes. Good. Now we can move on to image of user. We can leave it as empty for now and just click on update profile. The reason why we want to do that is because we want to show how an incomplete profile can be calculated and shown in the front end as incomplete. The next thing we want to do now is to create a query that queries just this. Let's come inside JetEngine and click on Query Builder. Inside of Query Builder, we want to add a new Query Builder and we want to give it any name of our choice. As usual, we're just going to call it any funny name. And any funny name, no, that's not good. So let's just type a reasonable name, a name that makes sense, shall we? Good. Toby, concentrate. Name that makes sense, do that. Query of Metafields inside of user profile. Excellent. Now you want to come to query type and select SQL query. Now let's come down. Now from which table are you going to fetch the items that we need? If you recall, when we created the meta box, we attached that to edit, user, and profile. Now usually when that happens, what it actually attaches it to is a table called user meta. If we come down here and look for user meta, you see it right here. Once we have that selected, we can come back up and toggle on preview results. And why do we have 94 inside of here? Well, that's the total result count. But we need to filter and get specific items from the database. What details do we need? We need the following. From the meta box which we created, as you can see here, and we can grab that meta key from there. Once we copy that, we want to come inside Query Builder again, and inside where, we want to add a new query class. Here on the column, we want to select meta key because, of course, that's what we just copied, right? And we want to compare that and say that it should be in the list. In the list of what? In the list of all of the meta keys that we created inside of here. So let's come back inside Query Builder and paste the first one we copied, which is user contact email address here, right? Want to copy that, and as you can see inside of the preview results here, you see that it returns item 1. And it shows the email address that I had entered inside of my user profile here. And it makes absolute sense this way, doesn't it? Next, you want to comma separate all of the other user profile keys because you need all of them, don't you? You want to come back inside of meta box here and copy each one of them. User age of user. You also want to copy, have you subscribed to the YouTube channel? And you want to copy image of user. All of this are to be stored inside this table, so we can just comma separate all of them here. So this, and then have you subscribed and comma separate and add the last one, user age of user. And now you have the total result count of 4. But why should it be 4 when we didn't fill all 4 items? If you come back inside the user profile, you recall image of user was left empty. So why is 4 items returned here? If we check inside the results preview here, you see that the image of user with the meta key image of user has the meta value equal to nothing. The others have the correct meta value. For example, have you subscribed to the YouTube channel has the value of yes. And also here on the user age of user has the meta value of 25. It all has values except the image of user right here. So we want to specify something additional that says if the meta value is empty, then don't query that item. And we can do that by adding a new query class. And the query class is going to get the meta value. And inside of the compare, we're going to say that it should not be equal to, and we're going to leave the space empty. So what we're really saying here is the meta value should not be equal to empty. In other words, if meta value is empty, then don't include that particular array item inside of my result here. I don't need it inside my results if this is empty. So now you can see the result count is 3, and that is absolutely good. We need one more thing to define here, because right now, if you have multiple users on the site who have all filled these items here, you'll have a lot more than 3. And we need to drill that down. We need to drill that down to just one user who is currently logged in on the site. So let's add a new meta class here. And on the column, we're going to select that the user ID and the column settings here is compared and equal to what value. We're going to use the dynamic tag option here and select user and select current user ID. So it's going to get the current user ID and check if the user ID is equal to that current user ID, then it's going to return the value here. As you can see, it still returns 3 items because I'm the currently logged in user and all the items here belong to me. This is good. This is all looking good. But now I need you to remember something. Remember that the reason why we're creating this query in the first place is because we want to calculate how much of the user profile a person has actually filled. if we compare that with how much the person is supposed to fill. It means we need to do a little bit of mathematics here, right? Don't we? Don't fear. It's going to be a very, very, very simple mathematics. Let's just come down here. And where you have here, include calculated columns, you want to toggle this on. Once we have that toggled on, we come inside of calculated columns, select any column of our choice. It really doesn't matter the one we select here. Let's just pick user ID as an example. And inside the function, we want to calculate and count the total number of items inside of that. So if it returns 3 items, you see here that the count returns 3, the value 3. And that makes absolute sense. Now, if we just do a little bit of mathematics, we can actually calculate the percentage a user has filled in their profile. Because now, look at this. We have the total number 3, right? But the person is supposed to fill in 4 total items here, right? How do we calculate that? The equation here is pretty simple. So let's just pull up a calculator here and see. Now, this is how you would usually calculate something like this. First, you want to grab the total number that a person has filled. We have that 3, right? We want to divide that by the total number of items a person should fill. We have that, right? 4. So let's say 3 divided by 4, right? We have 0.75. If we multiply that by 100, we have the total value 75. And 75 here simply means 75%. It means, therefore, that if we can do the same mathematics inside of our query, we'll be able to calculate the percentage a person has actually filled, can't we? So back into our query, we want to do just that. Let's come now inside of this calculated columns and adjust this just a little bit. As you can see, count here, and inside of here you have user ID, and it returns the value 3. How about if we can do this ourselves by simply coming inside here and selecting custom instead of count? Now, inside here, you see this definition here. It's a bit complicated, but what it simply means that this value here, this %1 $S, whatever is inside here, if you copy that and paste it inside here, it should return the value of the user ID here. As you can see, it returns custom user ID 1, custom user ID 1, custom user ID 1 in all 3 places. And that makes absolute sense. But we need to count it. And we can just do exactly what this count does. If we remember how it looked here, we have count like this, and then the user ID. Let's just grab that. Let's just copy that. Let's come back inside here to custom. Let's remove this. And now we're going to just paste in that count thing there. Now we're just going to put in the value that we had there, this particular value, so that whatever is inside here can be counted. So it doesn't matter what you select here. If you change this to meta key, it just returns the same value of 3. Select whatever you want, but just put in this placeholder there so that it grabs whatever is inside of here. Remember that our formula is this, that when you count the items, you want to divide that by the total number of expected fields that you need the user to fill in. So 3, for example, will be divided by the total number of expected fields here, which is absolutely 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want to come down here and type in 4. So we're going to say, in essence, 3 divided by 4, and that gives us 0.75. You remember our calculation from earlier? And now we're going to multiply all of that by the value 100. Let's just put it inside of a bracket here, like you would do regular mathematics. And you want to multiply all of this by 100. And now you have your value 75.0000. Forget about the decimal places. We're going to deal with this later. Now, keep in mind that this calculation here is going to work just fine for us, because now whatever is the total number of fields a person has actually filled in, that is calculated and it returns the percentage here for us. If we come back inside the profile and just to test, remove the user email address here and update the profile. We can come back inside Query Builder and toggle off the preview results and toggle it back on just so it refreshes this. Now you see it returns the total value here as 50. 50 what? 50%, because we have 2 items completely filled in here out of the total 4 that are expected to be filled in, right? We're ready to go to our next step. And our next step is to get this value from the query and return it inside of whatever widget we choose to use to display our percentage. Now, once we're done with this, we want to add our query. So we're going to click on Add Query. The next thing we want to do now is to get this value out of this query and into a shortcode that we can make use of in any widget of our choice. Now, here's how we want to do it. We want to come inside JetEngine. We want to select that JetEngine menu item there and come inside of shortcode generator. Once we click on shortcode generator, we want to leave the source as is. We want to come to object field, scroll down until we find the query we just created. Select that query and select custom user ID. Once we have that selected, we want to toggle on filter field output because, of course, if you recall, when you come back inside the query builder, you remember that it returns the value with decimal places. We want to remove those decimals because we need just a whole number. So we want to come back inside the shortcode generator here and apply a new callback. Inside of callback, we want to select here format number. Once we have that selected, we want to leave the decimal point as is. We want to leave 1000 separator as is because it won't matter to us. What really matters here is the decimal point here. We want to return that to 0 because now after it gets the number and evaluates it, what it actually returns is a whole number without decimal points. Makes sense. We want to come down here to where we have the shortcode generated and just copy our shortcode. Our next step is to come inside the editor and add that progress bar widget to the page. It's called Circle Progress. So we're going to drag that in here and we have that inside of here. Now let's just test that this works the way we want it to. Let's just add a value 60% here and see how it works. It works just fine. Come back inside content here and inside value number suffix, we want to add the suffix here, which would be 60% complete. So we want to say 60% complete or 30% complete. You get the point. Now you want to take the percent position outside of the circle like that. Good. This is all looking good for us. Now we want to come back inside values here. And normally what we will do is we'll come to dynamic tags and we'll come to shortcode. We want to grab shortcode here. Where is it? Good. And we want to select the shortcode and paste in that shortcode that we had copied. And that's the shortcode inside of there. But now we see it returns the value 0, or maybe it's not returning any value at all. And that would make sense. It would make sense because the context of this particular page does not allow it to work. And now you may be confused because you're thinking to yourself, maybe you need to check in the front end, right? Let's publish. Let's try. We come to the front end here, we refresh the page, and we see really nothing happens. Nothing is returned inside that shortcode. But why? The reason is because of context. I have an article that I wrote here that I encourage you to go check it out. I'm going to add the link in the description below. And it basically details a lot about WordPress, dynamic context, and how you can use dynamic tags inside of loops when it relates to certain things in certain areas, in different situations, how they work, and all of that. Now, I cannot explain all of that to you right here, but what I can explain is what can help us solve this mystery right now. Now, the shortcode would generally be looking inside of the query in which it exists. The shortcode we pasted in here exists inside of the query that makes up this particular page. But that's not the query we need. The query we need is the query builder query we created here, right? It means the only way for that shortcode to work is if the shortcode was existing within this particular query. How do we make that work? If you're thinking what I'm thinking, you're right. We're going to come inside here to listing and components, and we're going to create a new listing. The entire reason for creating this listing is just to have something act as a container. The container that's going to change the query to have the query that we just created and make that shortcode work exactly the way we want it to. We're going to click on Add New Listing. We're going to come to Listing Source and select, of course, Query Builder. We're going to select the query we created, which is query of Metafields inside of user profile. We're going to just call this container of listing of query inside of user profile, if I can spell profile, and we come to create listing item, and we're just going to create it right now. Now, if you're using Bricks Builder, you want to do the exact same thing, or you want to use a query loop, your choice. If you're using Gutenberg, you want to do just that. Now, inside of here, we're just going to add in a simple container. Now we're just going to take off the padding of that container so it's completely empty. So we're going to put that padding to 0, and we're going to come to layout and make that a full width container. If we come to the listing settings here and adjust the preview width, we can keep it as small as possible. Now let's just come back to the editor, copy that widget out of there, come back inside of the listing we have here and paste it inside of there. Now let's publish that, and let's come back inside the editor, take out this widget and paste in the listing we just created. So we're just going to add listing and put the listing grid on there and type in container, which was the name of the listing, put this to 1 column, and you can see now 50% complete shows just the way we want it to. Excellent, because now it is within the context of the query that we created. Makes absolute sense. We can hit publish, come to the front end and refresh this and see it work just the way we want it to. Beautiful. Let's see if it's actually working. We can come back inside of the user profile and we can add a new image of user here. Let's just select this image and click on choose media and select update profile. Now we have 3 items instead of 4 items. So we're expecting something around the range of 75% if my calculation is correct. So we're going to refresh this and see it work. 75% complete. Excellent. There's one last thing we need to do here. Let's come back inside of the editor and we want to make sure that the image of the user shows inside of this circle here. We shouldn't be editing it here, so let's just come back inside of the listing we have created here, and we need to create another shortcode. The shortcode we need to create is a shortcode that will return the image that we just created. Remember that when I first created that Metafield, I created an image of user and I returned the media ID inside of there, meaning whatever image is selected inside the user profile here is actually going to store the ID of this particular image. And that's useful to us. And now we can come back inside the shortcode generator. Let's just refresh this so we can lose all the changes here. And we want to come here inside of source and change that to metadata. Let's just select the image of user here. And next you want to come to filter field output. You want to toggle that on. You want to click on apply callback. And the callback you want to apply here is to ensure that you get image by ID. And you want to select the image size here. Really doesn't matter for us right now, but I'm just going to select medium for this particular use case and grab that shortcode from there. Now we can come inside the listing we're just editing, select it, and inside of content, you see where you have counter here. We want to remove that by selecting shortcode here, and we want to paste the shortcode inside of there. Now that shortcode should fetch, as you can see here, the image of the user on the site. Makes sense. We can hit publish, we can come to the front end, we can refresh this, and there we have it. If you want to, still within the listing, you can add another progress bar, let's say a progress bar such as this, and you want to drag that inside of there. And now inside of percentage, you can come in here, click on dynamic tags. You want to select shortcode by clicking on the shortcode dynamic tag here. And you want to paste in that same shortcode that you generated inside of the shortcode generator for the percentage. Come to where we have the title and select progress of profile. And inside of the inner text, we want to use maybe we want to select the user name here. So we're just going to come inside of the user field, and inside of field, we want to grab the user display name. Once we're done with that, we want to hit publish, come to the front end, refresh this again, and see how it looks. Progress of profile, Toby Salami, 75%. So let's refresh. We created a meta box, and the meta box carried all of the meta fields that will be associated to the user profile. Then we created a query that only checked for items where the meta value exists and also calculated inside of the query the value in percentage that we need. We then fetch that value inside of the JetEngine shortcode generator here using our shortcode, and then we came inside here to the listing and created a listing just to change the context to be based on the query builder, and then fetch that percentage inside of here using the shortcode we previously created. This way, we're able to show it in the front page, a profile completion bar ready to go. I have an example to show you. It's a Fluent community plugin that was just released and it's still in beta at this moment. But if you take a look at the top right here, you see complete your profile 50%. Now, this is something you can very easily achieve by just using the same steps I had showed you, making use of the shortcode within the context of the query and putting that shortcode inside of here to calculate the percentage and only show that button on the condition that the percentage value is not 100%. And just like that, you have a button that forces a user to complete their profile if they've not already done so. Now, I hope that you have learned a thing or two from this video. I trust that you'll be able to apply the concepts I showed here in real-life projects. I'd be happy if you can leave feedback in the comment section below telling me if you understood the concepts I showed. If you have any questions, I'd be very happy to help. As always, I remain Toby Salami. You should subscribe to the channel. And until next time, stay dynamic.